And Burhana, for example, has been associated with IUCN from when he was 2 years old. 1950, 1951 was when we first saw Wolfgang. Sylvia has been involved with IUCN before it was born, because she has, in a sense, been a symbol of the kind of conservation that we want to do. Dr. Swaminathan, who was president for 2 terms during the 90s, has given so much to IUCN, and so has Vali. So we have people here. We had also invited the other 2 living past presidents, Yolanda Kakabadze, and there was one more. Sorry? Maurice was not actually president, but actually saved the organization from extinction. So we talk of him and think of him as somebody very, very important. So the idea here is that we learned a lot of lessons. We've had a great deal of exposure to this organization, and we would like to share with IUCN some of our insights on how they'd like to think about the future. Julia will be joining us in a little while. She, like the rest of us, is overbooked, so she's dealing with some book launch at the moment, but she'll come very soon. And Jane Smart, who is a very senior member of the IUCN staff, is here, and I'm sure that IUCN will benefit a great deal from what you're all going to say. I am part of the panel, so I have asked Solange here, who is a journalist from Mexico, and of the next generation, therefore more appropriate than me to moderate this meeting. So I'm going to invite you to take over.
Well, I consider myself a part of the present generation, not the future generation, and I'm not more future generation. So thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for all of you that are here to hear the elders, the people which wise will help us to create a better future. So for every nation that achieves welfare, another goes deeper in underdevelopment. Today, as never before, we are witnesses of extreme problems. Today, as never before, we live in a world that our grandparents and even our parents never dreamed. Danica May Camacho is a baby who was born on October 30, 2011, the day when the world population reached 7 billion. What is the world that awaits Danica when she turns 20 or 30? This session, as you see, includes several of the Union's past presidents, as well as some of personalities who helped shape IUCN's history. Today, our panelists will reflect on past and future key events that have shaped IUCN's 64 years and share insights on the future directions of potential for the Union at a time of unprecedented threats to biodiversity. So please join me to welcome. Ashok helped me to introduce him, but I am going to say again, Dr. Wolfgang Burhen, founder of the IUCN Environmental Law Program. Thank you so much. Professor Swaminathan, former president of IUCN. Dr. Sylvia Earle, IUCN Patron of Nature, explorer in residence, the National Geographic Society. Mr. Vali Musa, former president of IUCN, and Ashok Khosla, president of IUCN. So, the challenges we face today are not easy. Years went by, and if we see the news today, it seems that things on environmental issues, farther than improved, have become worse. If you have to compare the past and the present, so this question is for you, Dr. Wolfgang. If you have to compare the past and the present, can be more optimistic? Tell me, does things in the last 20 or 30 years have improved? When you were young, is this the future you dream?
Is this on?
Yes, I think so.
I don't think it's on. Can you tap it?
Can you use the hand one?
She's coming. No? Yes. Thank you. Before I start, I have to tell you something. I just get a telephone call that my 40-year warden in the project area just died 10 minutes before. So you can understand that I have a little bit, I just got the telephone. I have known IUCN for 62 years. It's quite a while. When I became active, was mainly a protection-oriented organization. However, while I supported protection, I have always expressed the need for IUCN to come to terms with the fact that humans are a part of nature and will use it to survive and develop. This is also the reason that I never liked the term in the United Nations when the people were speaking, saying man should live in harmony with nature. For me, this is the wrong concept. Man is part of nature, not in harmony with nature. We should live in harmony within nature. I've always criticized this term in the United Nations. Yes, thus I was quite happy when we decided in Edinburgh, I don't know the year, long time. Yeah? You remember? To adopt the term conservation and add reference to natural resources. Contributing to IUCN, for me, was always a very rewarding experience. It has given me inspiration and greater purpose in life. I have witnessed our evolution into a modern organization, convinced that the sustainable use of nature and natural resources are a precondition for conservation. Ashok, actually this was our very early discussion when you joined IUCN. As for the next 60 years, here follows some points for further discussion. So make a list of points to be short enough. We have to recognize that combating hunger is our main task if we are to have a sustainable world. We must all assist developing countries to attain greater independence. Everyone should understand the weight of our responsibility for future generations. We have to insist and continue the hammering that sustainable development is an equal balance between the environment, social well-being, and the economy. We have to admit that the current approach to growth is a concept to be overcome. Today, all growth is tied to nature, and we must decouple from renewable resources as far as possible. We have to accept that the concept of green economy is not universally welcome, and even considered a weakening of sustainability.
I was surprised when the Rio Plus 20 paper was adopted in the General Assembly. There have been several statements of explanation of vote. There have been separate interpretation to the paper, and I think, for example, Bolivia, for several developing countries, say that they reject, I repeat this, the term green economy. But it's not the term, but the action and the outcome which are important. Our summits, it's also the teaching from Rio Plus 20, our summits where ministers and civil servants discuss internally while thousands of others run around at side events of wise use of resources. I've been in Stockholm, I've been in Johannesburg the first time, now in Rio the first time, in Johannesburg, but I was not going to Rio Plus 20 for the reason that I was involved in the preparatory process, and I was realizing that I would not be really in the room and that there would no negotiations. In Rio 2, the first Rio, I was not liking to go. I had the same feeling when NGOs had to take a lot if they could go to the meeting or not. I was telling Maurice Strong that time and say, Maurice, why I should go to Rio. Then he changed and said, Wolfgang, we need you. And he got a sign, access to all meetings. Yes, I was good. Then I could help, and with Tommy Coe, I was active as well in the declaration from Rio, as well as with the Rio, what is the other paper called? The program for 21, yes. The agenda. So, in spite of my love for the rule of law, I advise caution when drafting new agreements. We are again in the process. We are again in the process now with Mercury. We will have more agreements coming. We must avoid overwhelming the world and concentrate on implementing what already is existing. Really, the implementation is, and I always say, as former chairman of the law commission, I always said, it was my philosophy from the beginning. Yes, we are drafting something. We are really happy when we see it printed in the law books, but this is only the first step. It has to be implemented. Laws are a piece of paper until they are implemented. If we are prepared to control implementation, our commitments, then we need to fulfill, for example, Agenda 21. We had the CSD meetings since Rio. I was attending all of the CSD meetings, but also the last one, where we started 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock next day, 24 hours, without result. No compromise, no result, no final paper, only a report of the chair. My next point is where I was opposing too many countries, many policies, we can upgrade and provide more authority to existing institutions such as UNEP and CSD without changing the legal form. Without changing the legal form. UNEP's competency, for instance, can be moved, what we used the term in Stockholm, catalytic, this was the instruction how UNEP should work, to operative without looking for a new structure. For example, I told all the people I have seen, and Mustafa Tolba was fighting with me also at the last meeting of the Governing Council. We said, if we'd like to change UNEP, then we need a new treaty. This treaty had to be ratified, perhaps needs 5 years. And we were sure that the US and India would not ratify a treaty on an agency, for an agency character of UNEP. This was completely clear. But UNDP has enough money and enough possibilities. We can upgrade UNEP without changing the structure or the legal basis. Environment policy in the 21st century requires active social political component. I hope the future utilize the vast experience we have to replace papers and statements with actions. This, for me, sounds more like the future we want. Also,